Hey team, welcome to Benchmarked. Coach Mess here along with Coach LaRock. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to talk in this show about something that has been around for a long time, but often proves to be an obstacle for many people in achieving total success. Having the right mindset. Uncle JG, why are people stuck in their mindset? Can you tell me, please?
I don't have the magic pill necessarily for this, but my quick reaction to it is we're creatures of habit. We just kind of go to our default, and our brain's default basically is to keep us comfortable, keep us alive. And that's kind of the opposite of what we're going to talk about today, basically, which is your mindset. So able to shift gears and get your brain away from comfort. Don't get me wrong, comfort is a good thing in certain circumstances. But if we're trying to get to another level, we definitely just can't simply use the default.
Yeah, and you'll hear us use the terms today a lot, the idea of fixed mindset, growth mindset, and this stuff's been researched, it's been talked about. We use it a lot in education, but it's something that we can use in our lives on an everyday basis. We like the idea of using the term like a mindset of excellence, or some people use the idea of elite, but you guys all know how I feel about the word elite. You got to use that word with caution. So we might throw it around a little bit today. So don't go back and be like, Messi hates the word elite. But in this sense, what we're talking about is that mindset that excellence, everything you do should be about excellence. And in the educational terms, we talk a lot about like being fixed or growth mindset. And I was thinking about this, when we were talking about doing this show. Who's going to get zero out of this episode today? It's the
Tell me.
people. It's the people who actually have a fixed mindset that already think that what they're doing is amazing, and they're not open to growth and development. So they're going to be listening to this as like, oh man, yeah, I'm great. I'm doing this, and I got no areas for improvement and all this stuff. So it's interesting. I forget where I read this, but they're saying this is the challenging part for some people is, if you're a lifelong learner and you want to improve, you're like, yeah, I can accept trying to grow in certain areas. But then you have some people that just be like, no, I'm doing really great where I am. Like you say, comfort zone. So they're just going to continue to roll through their life thinking they're crushing it. But at the end of the day, they're just kind of like, they're fixed. They're stuck. They're mentally stuck.
When you think you know everything is when you find out you know nothing. Basically, that's the quote that I remember. I don't even know if it's a quote. It's a coach I had that told me that. So when you think you know everything is when you find out you know nothing. And that's total growth mindset if I've ever heard it. I'm just trying to wrap my head when you think you literally know, like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And it's funny, in the last, I don't know, year or so, I've met some coaches that have been at this for a long time. And they let me kind of parachute in on some Zooms they were having with other coaches or different settings. And I remember watching a coach, 32 years of coaching, and he's done a great job. And he's sitting there hammering notes away.
Mm.
I've seen another, Jerry Weinstein's another one. I've seen him in presentations. He's like the godfather of catching, and he's in the front row taking notes or quoting other people, or these are people in our eyes that are at the top. But the reason, again, they're at the top is because they're continually learning. They know they don't know everything. They're continually sharpening their axes to get better every single day. You can kind of, not even, I was going to say, you can maybe take your foot off the gas a little bit and say, I'm doing pretty good, maybe. But it's when you take your foot off the gas that somebody didn't take their foot off the gas, and they're going to pass you in the next lane.
And I always, to add on to your idea, iron sharpens iron, right? Yeah. So you need to line yourself up with people who, and this is a great opportunity for us to talk about the idea of our accountability partner again. Whereas if I'm doing something, you're going to be like, Mess, that's not a good idea. That's not good. You have to have somebody that you have to be able to listen to and be like, oh my God, I shake it up, right? Where I feel people that are fixed one, don't accept an accountability partner because, let's say on the extreme, they don't want to be told that what they're doing is wrong. They don't want to be held accountable. They're comfortable, right? So if you're comfortable, you're not going to be held accountable, and you're not going to want to grow in those areas.
I literally have nothing to say. I was just
This is
thinking
a
in my
tough
head.
one. People who are listening, they're driving to work right now and they're listening to our show and they're like, yeah, I want to be better. So you're listening to the show probably because you want to be better. If you have a fixed mindset, you're not reading books. You're not asking people like, hey, is this right? Am I doing this well? So it's really like the being open to the idea of self-honesty. Like, man, I think I can be better. Like, do we walk out of the building at the end of the day and say, oh man, I wasn't a good teacher today, or I wasn't a good coach today, or I wasn't a good leader today, I wasn't a good boss today? Do you walk out of the building asking yourself those questions when you're on your way home from where you're coming from? Do you reflect? And then we'll talk a little bit about this even more, is what did I do well today? What can I do better? And then how am I going to do it? And this is why it's interesting about the idea of having that mindset of, I am kicking ass, but I need to know what I need to do to keep kicking ass, right?
I can use myself definitely as an example. I've just transitioned to another school. I was at a school for a while, and now that I can reflect back on it, I think I was stuck I was in cruise control, thought I was doing everything right. I think I was still trying to grow within that setting. But obviously it was time to change. So those of you who've changed careers or changed jobs and it wasn't, I think, till I realized once I made the change of scenery, where it's interesting, where people are holding you accountable, people, you look at things in a different light, but if you're not looking for it, you won't find it. If you sit there like, oh, poor me, or, I went through that window also where, how did this happen to me? Where now I'm at the mindset of, this happened for me. And it was the best thing that could have happened for me. You kind of don't maybe sometimes realize that when you fall in certain situations in life, that you feel like things happen to you, but you definitely find out they happen for you. You might realize it later that day. It might take you a week. It might take you a month. It might take you a year. But if you're continually growing, you're going to eventually find out that happened for you and not to you. And I'm living proof, in my opinion, to that.
Now, we talk about growth mindset in education, but it's in every walk of life. It's in business. It's in everywhere, wanting to get better. And there's some authors out there that do a really bang up job in describing what growth is and all that stuff. And for a lot of people, they're not applying it properly. Like Carol Dweck's one of the greatest researchers when it comes to this. And she says a lot of the times is we're celebrating the wrong thing. And her idea is, you want to make sure that you praise the effort, not the outcome. And you're praising the effort that led to the outcome. So basically what she's saying is, it's not just effort, but it's strategy. So progress is the standard. So the idea is, as human beings and as leaders, progress is what we should be seeing out of our people and ourselves. You should always be moving forward. And I think that's where some people get stuck. Like, I've been to PD days and sessions where you see teachers like, they're kind of halfway through their career. You get kind of three groups of teachers when you go to like a conference. And this probably happens in all industry. You got some people that they're forced to be there. They put their feet up on the table and they're like, none of this is going to help me whatsoever. You got the people that are all in, they're like dancing on the tables. They give me all the information I can. And then you got somebody that's in the middle. They're like kind of been doing it for a long time. And I've seen a lot. And so what is it that you're going to give me that I can use? So there's kind of that realm of where you want to be. But the idea is, there's something to learn from everybody. You just have to be open to it. Sticky eyeballs, right? Open ears, you got the radar on, and be ready to grow.
And I'm with you because I'm looking back in the education field because I'm thinking PA days or PD days or conferences. But again, we spread them across all different type, for businesses and other walks of life. You have to go in with the right mindset. Like you kind of hit the nail on the head. You have to go in with the right mindset in those settings. But again, now I'll look at and I'll talk to the superintendents right now, or I'll be talking to the person running conferences or the business owners. You also, I think anyways, you have to create the environment that is welcoming for the people going into it. They don't go in with their backs up right away, because that's not going to be a very receptive setting for everyone to be there. So you also have to do your research in that regard. Like what do you think people are looking for? Or are you just stuffing things in people's mouths like this is where I want this to go? And you're going to have to do that at some point, I'm sure. But again, we say player led, not coach fed, but that literally applies to all professions at the same time.
And it's funny because I remember being at a conference, and I don't even know if I should tell this story live on this, but it's a good one. So I just
delete it or edit it after.
And it was like I forget what it was called. It was the worst PD session I'd ever been to. And part of it wasn't handled well from the beginning. And it was behavior management systems, and it was mandatory. We all had to do this training. And I don't even know who it was. The presenter of this training was the idea is if you were being attacked by a student and what you had to do. And so they were showing these like moves and stuff like that. And then, I mean, we're in the high school setting. We had a kid at the time who was 6'2". He was repping on the bench like 300 and something pounds. He was a monster, right? And so there's the two of the ladies that I work with in my office. They're pretty petite. I don't know if between the two of them, they crack 200 pounds together on the scale. So one of my colleagues is like, well, what am I going to do if this guy comes and like wants to like throw me around? And then the presenter was like, well, you're just going to put this hold on them. And then so they're like, there's no way that's going to work. So I ended up, they're like, attack us. And they were going to try to use the moves. Well, anyways, I had them both pinned on the ground within about 10 seconds. And then the lady got all upset and the whole staff got all discombobulated and the whole thing came undone. I was in the principal's office with the girl. Oh, it was a disaster, but the whole thing was mishandled like from the get-go. And the idea was we left there as a staff thinking we're not better because of this now, right? We just totally discombobulated the lady and it was brutal. But it's the idea of, what can we learn from this? What's the situation where you're going to go into a place and learn and be open to be better? What probably would have been better if she would have said, hey, maybe we should come up with a solution where you're going to call for help and you're going to get this and you're going to get that. Or she's like, no, you could take this guy down. And there's no way with what they were teaching us, they were going to take this guy down. So anyways,
I'm trying to think when I first started taking CPR, and I could be off and somebody can 100% correct me on this. But I remember when I first started, and again, I could be wrong here, but I remember taking CPR at the beginning, and remember we went from like breaths to compressions, and now it's kind of progressed. It's more about the compressions than it is necessarily the breaths. Yeah. But like now the whole process of like find somebody, tell them to call 911. I can't remember, because you're making me think of that right now, if at the beginning of all this, that was even part of like the lay of the land. It was like, hey, do this, do this. And now it's just like, hey, find somebody, tell them to call one, then you kind of do your thing. But like there's other mechanisms in place, because this isn't like the only way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like you're saying, hey, maybe we should call for help, get somebody else, have designated people in the school, because the size of the individual, or they handle this person, it's like the Hulk has just ripped off all of his clothes and went green. There's that one Avenger that can calm him down. Like find that lady, wherever she is, Black Widow, find her.
Find Black Widow. I love how we got to roll in like a superhero.
Marvel. This is amazing.
Analogy.
Amazing.
But your analogy on first aid is perfect, because if you think about it, since we've been in this and we've always had to get recertified, it's evolved. That's a growth mindset.
Yeah.
The
AEDs now.
Yeah, the Red Cross didn't just say, "Oh, this is good, right? We're going to stick with it." No, they
Yeah.
found a better way.
Yeah.
We've done research. We found that's a growth
Yeah.
mindset. Now, like the idea of like mindset to me is more of like, let's talk about the idea of excellence and growth. And I think one of the things is people have to realize that I want to talk about just mindset in general, and the idea of you have to compose yourself with a mindset that you're going out and you're crushing it every day. You're getting out of bed every day and you're going to say, I'm going to crush it. I am going to crush today. I'm going to have a good day. It's a good day to have a good day. And I think a lot of people don't have that mindset. When you get out of bed and your mindset is like, well, I'm not sure about today, or I'm not sure about parts of today. I think that's where people get the idea
but
of,
you're always going to be right though. If you don't think it's going to be a good day, you're 100% right. If you think it's going to be a good day, that's like a proven statistic. It's been done. What your mindset is going into it is exactly how it's going to be. If you think you're going to be poor later in life, yep, that's what's going to happen, because you're literally setting your own path for yourself. And like, we got to stop talking. I want to make sure I say this properly. We got to stop. Sorry for cutting you off. That just like clicked.
This is good.
We have to stop talking, listening. There you go. We got to stop listening to ourselves and start talking to ourselves. I'll repeat that one because it just sunk in. We have to stop listening to ourselves and we got to start talking to ourselves, because you're going to get that negative voice like 90% of the time probably into your brain, because that's what we see. That's what we think. It's just, I don't know, we're wired that way. But we need to start talking to ourselves and saying, not necessarily saying no, but flipping the script. Get away from the default. Let's change gears. Let's find the cheat code. And I know we're going to talk about a little bit later. Find the cheat code and like start progressing. Because if you wake up like, oh, this is going to be, what do you think your day is going to be like? And don't wait for other people to ignite that fire. Like, hopefully we're doing that for you, but take control of your own life, man. Like, look at things differently. It's a bright day. It's a great day. Things are going to happen for you, not to you. Like that type of thinking on an ongoing basis, you'll rock your day. You'll crush your day.
Yeah. And I love the idea of what you're saying is the idea is confidence is not a feeling. It's an
choice.
action.
Yeah. It's a choice.
Get away from the idea of like, how many times, I'm sure this has happened to you. How many times have you been coaching an athlete and the parents say, I want my, what can I do? Or what can you do to help my son or daughter's confidence? I can't do anything to help their confidence. They have to realize that confidence is an action. It is not a feeling.
No.
And it's also not an on and off switch. Confidence is more like a dimmer, right? And I think the idea is and you have your finger on that dimmer all the time, and you have to continue and rely on yourself. I always say, like, don't rely on me to build your confidence, because I'm going to do a shitty job of it. But I think the idea is you have to do your best you can on your own confidence. You control that dimmer switch in your own mind. Remember, confidence is not a feeling. It is an action. Stop making excuses. Actually make stuff happen for yourself.
And I'm going to jump on your dimmer situation there. And again, I don't know if this is like I'm having a day where I'm using myself as an example, and that's sometimes you're going to have to change the light bulb. And when I say that, I've had to reset for me personally at the same time. You get to a point, it's like the pause, and it's the like, am I going the right direction? All these things you're second guessing or talking to yourself. But with the elite mindset, sorry, using the word again, that growth there, sorry, I'm just going to change that. The growth of mindset in that setting is, how long is it going to take you? Like, I'm using my light bulb again. How long is it going to take you to change the light bulb? It's just like everything else. Example, in our house, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. We'll all get to that point, people. We literally, so don't feel bad if you're in that situation. We all get to that point. But the question is, how long are you going to take out the garbage? How long is it going to take you to change the light bulb? How long is it going to take you to, take out the dishes in the dishwasher? How long is it going to take you to wash that clothes? That, I think, is the difference in the growth mindset. We all know what to do. It's the action Mark talked about before. It's the action. Are you actually going to do it? And how long is it going to take you to do it?
Oh, you're going to have crappy days. You're going to have days where you talked about this before in another show when we were talking about effort, and then act bigger than you feel. And that you got to you got to kind of project this. I'm tired of, I'm going to try not to get too fired up.
Yeah, I can see this.
You can see this building in me
yeah,
here,
yeah,
but like
your shoulders got bigger.
Yeah. You're going to have days where you're just not feeling it. You're going to have days where you're just like getting out of bed is a task, but you got to find it. And I'm tired of the Instagram gurus and the TikTokers of the world and everything. They're promoting this false reality. Remember, it's not real. Social media is not real. That these people are promoting this thing that life is perfect. They're getting out of their Lamborghini on the Riviera and, this is it. No, it's not 100% positive all the time. It's not feasible to do it all the time. You're going to get punched in the face. There's going to be days where you're going to feel like a bag of hammers and not be at your best. The true skill of your mindset is to minimize those days and to isolate bad moments in your day and not let them ruin all, 1,440 minutes of your day, right? I listened to a really, really cool podcast and the guys were talking.
Time out.
Sorry. I'm not gonna.
No. So no, this is a good thing. So time out. We're doing a podcast and you're listening to other podcasts. Why would you do that? Why would you not just listen to what we do and what we say and how we think? Why wouldn't you just do that? Aren't we the best thing ever?
No.
Why would you listen to other people?
Well, I hope so. I hope we're doing okay.
No, that comes back to
you guys are terrible.
Yeah.
But no, it's growth. I like listen, if I'm walking or driving somewhere, it's like what does Sorensen call it? The
Automobile University.
Yeah. Automobile University, right? Like it's easier for me. I drive a lot. Especially this year, I've driven a lot. I think I've crushed like 8 books on tape plus podcasts that just download. This is where you'll learn a lot of different stuff, different perspectives. And again, I want to learn things that are outside my comfort zone. I'm going to tell you this is you can laugh at me all you want.
I will.
I know you will. We read a book on tape. We were driving, and this is like when we were doing our maritime adventure. We read a book. And it was the secret life of trees, because I'm always reading books about leadership and fulfillment and all this stuff. I was like, we need to change the pace. This guy it was an amazing book, The Secret Life of Trees. And he had the most melodic voice. And he was talking
You didn't even know what melodic meant before listening to that book. Melodic. Listen to this guy.
Oh yeah, man. Driving across the Atlantic area was amazing listening to that book. So anyways, the idea is that you're gonna back to my original idea. You try to minimize the bad in a day, in a week, whatever, and don't let them ruin the whole day, right? And you always realize, and when things are really hard, realize, this is what I say. I was listening to this podcast, and the one guy says, growth and fulfillment often lie on the other side of hell. And I was like, wow. I'm thinking about like all the good things that ever happened to me. Like it goes back to the day I thought I was going to die on the side of the road in the middle of that snowstorm, in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, well, I'm die. I got to start running. And lo and behold, that's where Lisa rescues me, and it comes out of nowhere in the middle of the Upper Peninsula in Michigan and rescues me in the middle of a snowstorm. We get married. We have 2 kids. Life is amazing. Growth and fulfillment will often lie on the other side of hell. And you could talk about that as an athlete trying to be better at something. You are going to put the work in the weight room, in those early morning weight room sessions, long practices, extra practices. As a student, you're learning and you're trying to teach yourself something, whatever. If you're a business owner and you're getting the door slammed in your face a million times until that one door opens, right? Like that's where it is.
It's that one thank you card from a student that, like, okay, I'm good for another 5 years now. Right. You're like, why am I doing this again? But, and it just takes that one card or that one email. And you're like, okay, I'm good for, like, your bucket gets filled pretty quick with one, and you're really to get 1,000 no's because you got that one yes. I want to go back also a couple of things. So one, I think perfect is fake. I literally, you talk about this Instagram, all that other stuff. Perfect is fake. Like let's peel the onion layers back when we kind of see those things. That's BS. Two, say I want to go back to a little bit of an Audible story at the same thing. So mine was, yours is the Secret Life of Trees. Yeah, I was thinking pets. That's how I remember that one. So Origin by Dan Brown. Origin by Dan Brown. So my wife Nicole, she's reading this book, and we're taking a long trip now, and she's on me like, why is it that you always have to listen to books or read books that, like, now that I think of like growth mindset, I'm always trying to learn, right? I don't just listen to books just to listen to books and kind of somebody take me off into a far land or learn about trees or whatever. So I'm reading this book, Origin. I was like, perfect. Okay. I said, I give it a shot. So I download the book Origin by Dan Brown. We're like maybe 10 minutes into it. She goes, I can't do this. I was like, what do you mean you can't do this? She said, I need to read it. I can't listen to it. I can't get into it. I need to read it. So what do you think happens? I ended up crushing this thing, and I got so caught up in it. So thanks to her for, leading me into a different direction that I can turn off my brain. But I didn't really turn it off because it was like religion and codes and how to, how things came about in Christianity. And I was like, man, I just went like to a whole different world. So Dan Brown, Origin, good for you. Thanks for
all the
converting
Dan
me a little
Brown
bit.
stuff is amazing. So good. So good.
Like he's Da Vinci Code, that guy, right?
That's
That's I love that stuff.
Enthralling, just so well done. So, and Tom Hanks, I read the books and watched the movies 16 times because it's so good. Love it. And I think they did a TV show not long ago.
I just watched it too. Something Code.
I forget what it was, but it was really good.
But yes, it was good. That's another subscription I bought that I don't need in my life, but whatever. Netflix, whatever those things, they get me all the time. They almost got me yesterday. I wanted to watch the new season of Dexter, but then I would have had to buy Crave membership, which is like $20 a month or $200 for. I was literally sitting with my credit card looking at it, and I made the decision yesterday. I was looking at my wife Nicole, and I was like, do we or don't we? And I said, you know what, we're not doing it, because then that gets us into not exercising. That gets us into like 8 episodes. We'll crush them in like 2 days, and it's a day that we won't get into keeping our habits or exercise. So sorry, Crave, not happening for now. You're not getting my $200.
Not yet. We're actually considering canceling cable like altogether, just because this would be like you're sitting on the couch, like whatever you could, I could watch like sports and stuff like that, like big games I could watch on the internet. So, but again, the idea of what are you doing with your time? And this is the idea of growth as well, because it's a great segue, Jill, about getting us into, like time you spend doing things. Growth is like, you're not going to do those things to make yourself better, right? You're not going to have the idea of, I need to get better. I can't be sitting on the couch watching this show right now. And we've talked about this before. Why am I going to watch the Super Bowl when I'm going to watch or the Grey Cup or whatever? And all these people are super fit, and I'm sitting here eating chips, and drinking beer. Whereas you and I are the idea of like, well, I'm going to exercise during this. Right. And I'll have the game on because it's interesting to have the game on. But the idea is like, I'm either going to like rip off some push-ups or some pull-ups or whatever during the show, or commercials, or give myself personal challenges. You make yourself better. Cut the cable, go outside for a walk, do something, get away from your phone, get away from your computer.
But I started this thing, putting it in flight mode at a certain time in my day. I started putting my phone in flight mode, because what was happening with that, what I found was just not able to shut my brain off. And I would get to a certain hour, and if I'd be reading texts or emails that weren't necessarily encouraging, that would fester, and then I'd lack in sleep, and I just think about it. And the next morning would just, my AM and PM routines were not good. So now putting it to flight mode by a certain time, and in my head now is, if it's that important, somebody will get a hold of me in some other shape or form. And it hasn't happened. Knock on wood, hasn't happened yet. So then my time is my family time. It's my me time. But it took me a long time. So those of you, either the business owners or coaches who are, your athletes have access to you 24/7, in a sense good for you, but at the sense, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. You literally have to be number one, and that sounds selfish, but you have to be number one in that list, because if you can't have it together, you can't be there for other people. It's just not the way it works necessarily.
But good for you, because a lot of that takes experience, perspective, and discipline, right? And forget about motivation. Motivation is something that could lead you down a false road, false hope, because motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, and people are like, I'm waiting for it's not, you don't lack motivation. You lack discipline.
Yeah.
When I, again, in training, when I'm training athletes and talking with parents a lot, and I'm dealing with this, not dealing with, sorry, I shouldn't say dealing. I'm working with this young person right now, and the parents are like, well, they're not motivated to come and work out. And I'm like, well, you need to find a different strength coach then, because I don't, motivation has nothing to do with it. It's discipline. Discipline will get you to where you need to go. Forget, if you rely on motivation, you will never get off the couch. You won't put your phone down and have that family time or that personal time that you need to get better. That, like, it takes a perspective and a growth, but that's the idea of discipline can take you somewhere. Like, that's your cheat code. And we talk about video game, your cheat, to me, it's discipline. Like, you and I use that Habit Share app a lot. And I think that's one of the things that helps keep me on track for a lot of things is it's a discipline thing. And we talk about habits and discipline. Right now, the book that the actual physical book I'm reading, Make Your Bed by Admiral McCraven. It's amazing. You and I have seen the speech a million times. I'll put a link to this in the show, to his speech and his book, but he says the very first chapter is how making your bed can change the world. And it was just such amazing idea. It's discipline, not motivation. And it was interesting because he goes on to talk about how, I'm not going to get the date right, but I want to say it's 2014, and they had captured Saddam Hussein, and he was going in to interview him to make sure that he was being well cared for. And he realized that he had they gave him a nice bed. They gave him a pretty good setup. And he's like, the guy never made his bed. He never made his bed. So where this guy, Admiral McCraven, came in from the idea of discipline, every day I'm going to make my bed. It's a success for me every day to make my bed, right? We tell our kids, our athletes, I always say, first thing I do to a kid when I train him, did you make your bed today? My classes, who made their bed today? And you get the kids that are be like, yeah, forget about making my bed. Like, my mom's going to make my bed. Forget that. But no, you make your own bed. You have to have that success. Your mom's not going to be there for you when you're 30. And if she is, you're still in your parents' place at 30. No offense if you are, but make your own bed.
So you're making me think when you talked about he noticed and never made his bed. So I'm starting to think you can get away with things for a certain amount of time, but your habits will come back. Right? Remember we talked about this. You'll never rise to the occasion. You'll sink to the level of your training or habits. We can even use that. So it was just a matter of time before you got caught. It was just a matter of time before you got caught. Why? Because you didn't make your bed. You didn't have the right habits. That's the way, when you said that, I was like, dude didn't make his habits. It was just a matter of time. You can only hide for so long when you don't make your bed, because you're not living in comfort. I'm going to go off on this one. Because you were living on the run probably the whole time, and you didn't have any consistency, and your brain was 100 different places because you're running and high. When you're doing things wrong, you're just putting like duct tape everywhere, basically. And that's just a matter of time before that peels off. You're just patch job. But if you can literally have the right habits, now you're setting like cement, man. Now you can weather the storm if you put things in a place, hence making your bed. Man. Yeah, that was good. And then the one I'm into right now of the physical, besides this automobile university, mine right now is the How to Train Your Brain Like an Olympian by Jean-François Menard, who's based out of Montreal area, Canadian author. So jump on that stuff. They just wrote a book, him and Andre Lachance, who's now a mental performance coach for Cirque du Soleil. They wrote a book about team chemistry, which I pre-ordered, should be out soon. So we'll dive into that one. But again, it comes back to habits. And you couldn't have segued that any better.
Oh, well, and here's the other thing that I want to talk about is I want to give people examples of what it is. Like we're talking about some unique things in our lives, but I want to give people examples of how fixed mindset can limit your success. So one, constructive criticism, you're going to see that as a personal attack, right? How many times have you talked to somebody, you're trying to give them feedback and it's just like, wham, the back gets up and it's just like, it's an attack. It's not an attack. I'm trying to help you get better. And now it's like, well,
yeah, but that's perspective.
It's perspective, right? Yeah. It is. It always goes back to perspective and be like disciplined. Like, oh, okay, this person. And I've always said this to my kids when they're talking with about teachers or coaches. Don't listen to the noise. Listen to the message. So my youngest daughter, well, both my kids had yellers as coaches. They screamers. They would just scream at you. And I said, through all that noise and screaming, there is an underlying message that could be relevant. So you have to train yourself to filter out the noise and get the message, because some people just see the screaming and yelling and then they get all emotional and you're blocked off. Whereas if you could filter that out, you can grow. You can actually grow, because you're going to get yelled at some point in your life, right? I have.
Roger that.
So don't look at criticism as an attack. You give up when you're frustrated and don't have the tools or the equipment necessary or the capacity to get through that idea of that block, right? So don't take your toys with you and leave because your things aren't going your way. So don't get frustrated. The idea that I don't need to learn anymore. That to me is the biggest thing. Is we're doing sessions right now. We're doing online coaching sessions right now. And we have a coach on there who's 74 years old.
Jeez.
74. He messaged me the other night and he's like, that was great session, coach. Thank you. Keep learning different things. I'm like, dude, I should be learning from you. You've been teaching or coaching more than I've been alive. He's 74. He's still coaching in the community, man, crushing it every day. So I like love it. And a total growth mindset.
Okay. What was the title of that one again? Cause as soon as you threw that gentleman, that was just like as a punch in the face, and I was like, wow, I totally forgot where I was going with my thought. But what was the caption of your thought right now for this one?
You don't need to learn anymore. You stop learning.
Yeah. Things that don't grow die. I'll repeat that. Things that don't grow die. And thank God for us, our noses and our ears never stop growing. So we're good to go.
Yeah, because our hair stopped growing. People that say, and I get frustrated with this one too, it is what it is. No, it isn't. It isn't. It doesn't have to be. Well, it is what that means. You're just going to accept you're growing. I would say you either have two options. You're growing up or you're growing. Well, that's okay, exactly. You're either growing up or you're growing down. Right. And so like you say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So, and I use that a lot with people that just don't get it. Like, are you growing up or you're growing down? You can't get stuck. You're not stuck in neutral. You're going in one direction or the other. And then the last one on this list, I want to say is jealousy of the success or attention that other people are getting. Right. And that's, to me, it's like, why? Good for you. You want to do it? Amazing. Good. Give it. Like, if you can make it, you make it. You want to put the effort in. That's amazing. I'll be super happy for you. But
and that's the analogy I gave with Tony Robbins. Remember we talked about the buildings? Tony Robbins, like two ways of having the tallest building in your community city. Either knock the other buildings down, which is what you're talking about right now. So you can knock other people down and, oh, he doesn't do this or she doesn't do this right or whatever. Or you just keep adding floors to your own building. Yeah. Just literally keep adding floors, and let's keep adding our own floors. Be happy for other people's successes. Good on them because they've grinded it out and done things for themselves. Good for them. But keep working on yourself. Just literally keep working on yourself.
Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you like podcasting? Why are you doing this? Writing? Why are you doing all this stuff? It's like, well, I'm not dead yet. Like my goal is just like, I want to be And my personal goal is I want to be the best father, husband, friend, coach, teacher that I can be. I want to stay outside my comfort zone and continue to grow. And just sitting on my butt and, watching TV is not part of what I want to be doing. So what's next? It's like, it's growth. I want to continue to add. I want to make the experiences for my students and my athletes to be better. I want the people that I'm training to have more knowledge. Like, yeah, let's go. Like, there's got to be something there that's going to help you grow as a human being. It has to be in your plans. If it's not in your plans, you're obviously not listening to this show. That if you want to just stick in the mud, then stick in the mud, but don't ever criticize other people for not being stuck in the mud.
No. I'm make sure I share something with you when we're done our call today. Make sure today at some point I share this with you. But Marcus Luttrell, I got to listen to Marcus Luttrell, and Marcus Luttrell is from Lone Survivor, the movie that Mark Wahlberg, he plays Marcus Luttrell. If you haven't seen it, get on it. But Marcus tells kind of the true, not the Hollywood version of what happened when he went through that. And you talked about I'm not dead yet. And what Marcus did when bones are broken, been shot, I don't know how many times, that whole process. And this one really, two things everything sticks in my mind from his conversation with the University of Arizona football team. But two of them, one was him and his brother had a terminology. This isn't the story I'm trying to tell, but one of them that sticks in my head is he always said, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. I was like, wow, let that sink in. If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Wow. That was one. But the story you talked about, like, I'm not dead, so why not? So when he was all shot up and going through what he was going through, and not knowing at the time he was the only person left, the lone survivor, he said he would, man, it fires me up when I say this. So I guess my breathing
speech.
He grabs the butt end of his gun because he can barely walk now. He can't even walk. He'd draw a line in the sand and he'd crawl. And he said to himself, if my feet get to that line, I'm still alive. I'm going to keep going. And he'd draw another line. I think he did that for over 10 miles.
Wow.
Draw a line in the sand. If your feet hit the line, you're still alive. Draw another line. Come on, man.
It's so unbelievable.
The mindset.
Are we not, does it not make you feel like you've just been so sheltered your entire life? Right. And I look like it was raining yesterday. Right. I looked outside and I was like, oh, I go for a walk, like did some exercise inside. It's like, I usually try to rip off a walk every day. And I was like, oh, it's raining. And I was just like, no, gotta go, gotta do this. It's on the list. It's on my habit shares. Got to do it. But here's this guy crawling for 10 miles after being shot. And I'm like, it's raining a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to make the walk outside. Like, check myself, right? This just good reminders of check yourself.
Good for you, man, for going in that, because that's such a metaphor for life where, you could have also adapted, get an umbrella on, or I don't know what, you don't have to put an umbrella. You can just weather the storm. Don't get me wrong. But that's where people kind of take their foot off the gas. Like we talked about earlier, like obviously you looked at that as a challenge and you had a plan how you were going to deal with it. And no one would have second guessed like, oh, it's raining. Mark didn't go today. It was raining today. It was where do you get his hair wet or whatever the case may be, right? So, but you weathered the storm. And look, we're talking today, you weathered the storm. So as much as we might think, though, they're irrelevant things, it's excellence in small things, excellence in all things. And good on you for doing that. Hopefully you don't catch a cold or anything. But
I know. I know. But here, let's take that a step further. I'm about halfway through the walk and the rain clears up, ends up being a beautiful day. Like it was like, wow, I'm glad I came out because otherwise I probably would have missed this. Because
say it again, because this is perfect for on the other side of what is what?
On the other side of hell, you're going to find growth and expansion, right?
You wouldn't have seen a beautiful day happen if you wouldn't have walked into the storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's literally how it works. Like take that metaphor how you guys want to, but literally if Mark wouldn't have did that, he wouldn't have got to see the clouds clearing. He would have just been at his house and like, oh, I guess it's better out today. Now I can go out. It's not how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was my biggest thing that I try to live in, you and I put this on as much stuff as we can is, am I better today than I was yesterday? And am I going to be better tomorrow than I am today? And I'm already planning on how is it that I'm going to be better tomorrow, right? It could be my tomorrow. I might have to sleep better. I didn't have a good sleep tonight, so it's going to help me be better for tomorrow. Did I read something? Exercise? You name it. Make your own list. What is it that's going to make you better the next day? Better. Some people simplify it. They just say better every day. I don't think that's enough. I have to be very specific for me because I've seen it out there. Better every day is great. It's a great tag. It's awesome. But I would say, am I better today than I was yesterday? Which means, am I learning from my mistakes yesterday? Am I going to be better tomorrow than I am today? And what am I doing to get there? And I think that's the biggest question we have to ask each other and ourselves. And we do, because you're my accountability partner. So I do, like, what is it? I don't know, like the reading, the exercise, the nutrition, these are all parts of self-care that allow us to be out there being fathers and husbands and teachers and coaches and business owners. That self-care allows us to be the best versions of those things, right?
Yeah. Roger that. Smart. But back to the SMART, we teach this to our kids all the time, the SMART and phys ed, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and then time, how much it's going to take you. So back to your specific, like you said, you need to be specific.
So yeah. And even if it's general, like head in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
how do you stop? So we give you the idea of like examples of average mindset or fixed mindset, but how do you stop it? So I made a list of a couple of things that you can do to stop or check your mindset and launch yourself into the idea of a mindset of excellence, growth. Yeah, let's use the word elite for this one. So number one I had was avoid BCD behavior: blame, complain, defend. Because if you are that, to me, that's the very, very first thing. It's easy for me to blame other people. I could have blamed the rain for stopping me from walking. The rain wasn't stopping me from walking. It was me that was stopping me from walking. If I want to blame a coach because I'm not getting playing time, I'm going to have a fixed mindset because I'm blaming somebody else for my current situation. Okay. Complaining about a situation isn't going to make it any better. It might make you feel better for a moment, but in the long run, it's not going to be doing you any good. And defending yourself, again, you're not going to be open to criticism, or you're not going to be, and I use the term criticism, or what do you call it? Feedback. Forget it. So avoid, blame, complain, defend at all costs. Parents, it's tryout season. Avoid, blame, complain, defend. Is your kid ready for tryouts, or has your kid been sitting on their butt eating s'mores all year long and not training, not getting ready, not being properly prepared? Don't blame the coaches. Coach didn't like my kid because whatever, or what, forget it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Aim for self-awareness. If you want to, again, self-aware people tend to not, if you're listening to the show, you tend to be self-aware, and you're probably already in the idea of you trying to get better. You're in an elite mindset. Avoid negative self-talk. That's the biggest thing. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not sure is not good. Maybe not ready. You might not be ready yet, but avoid, and we'll talk a little bit about this a little bit more later, but that fixed mindset self-talk of being uncertain, the confidence as a feeling, not an action.
So sorry, before you go to the next one, sorry. And that comes back to stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. Go ahead. Sorry, keep going.
That's a big difference, right? That's a big difference. And the other one is too, is like, ask for feedback. Ask for feedback, right? People look at that as a sign of weakness. I don't see that as a sign of weakness at all. I see that as a sign of wanting to grow. Doesn't mean I'm going to take it. Like, when I say listen to the feedback, is it really listen to what they're saying? And it's like I say, like, people say, I love your show. So first thing I ask them is like, well, I appreciate it, but like, what's your favorite episode? And which episode you're like, wasn't very good? Because I want to keep getting better. I want our show to keep getting better. So when people say, oh man, keep doing, you guys are doing a great job. To me, that's very general, but I'll ask them specifically, hey, which episode have you liked the most? Or, and then they start sharing their idea. And I ran into somebody the other day. I was like, which been our worst episode yet? And there was funny. They thought about, they're like, oh, you had one episode where your audio was weird or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, that was episode blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it's like,
but remember, that's how we started. We actually asked people for feedback when we just kind of started the ball rolling. We're like, let's have a few people listen to it. And that was, sound was this and this, and that's how we got better. I'm not saying we're on the top of the mountain right now.
No,
probably far from it. However, progress.
We got punched in the face a couple of times, which was
good.
Good. And then the idea is, don't overreact to failure. Keep it in perspective. And remember, we embrace failure here. The failure is fertilizer for your future, right? And one of the other things suck. And the other thing is, and second last thing on this is, never compare yourself to other people. You can only compare yourself to the best version of yourself, right? And ask yourself, how good can I actually get? Ask yourself that. And if you can ask yourself that and lay out that plan, you're going to be in an amazing situation. And then finally, celebrate the process over the outcome.
What's the best? When you went back to the previous point, was like, think about what the best version of yourself looks like, and what are you doing to attain that? What's the best version of yourself in 5, 10, 15, 50 years, whatever? What's the best version of yourself look like? And then you'll find something, you're like, yeah, I'd be doing this. And then if I push you a little bit more, I said, expand a little bit more, what would that look like? Because it's like we always can find another ceiling, but you need the right accountability partner. You have to have the growth mindset to achieve those things, because we seem to put ourselves in a little bit of box, and this is all I can achieve. This is all I can do. And you're capable. We're put on this earth to do amazing, amazing things. We're the ones who kind of put the handcuffs on ourselves.
Oh, unstick yourself. And I think one of the things is, and I say this to a lot of people, and especially when I'm training and teaching them, eliminate the mental limitations you put on your own physical performance. Yeah. So that means you, like, the idea of like, I'm not going to do well on this test. Well, you just handcuffed yourself, right? Eliminate the mental limitations. Focus on what you can control the controllable, right? And then you control your own actions. These are all things that you have control of. And I think that's where we can really make that jump from the average mindset to that of excellence and growth, and just crushing it and kicking butt.
Yeah.
Get after it, right?
Roger that.
So for today, what we want, you got a homework. We've been doing. Yes, sir. We have homework for today. And what we want you to do, and this is a really, really simple task. You need to create a mindset list. And if you really have to be self-reflective and self-honest on this, your mindset list is going to have 3 columns. One column is start, one column is stop, and the third column is continue. In each of those columns, you're going to list 3 to 5 things that you want to do in those categories. I'll repeat it. Start, stop, continue. 3 to 5 things that you want to do that are going to take you from an average mindset to an elite mindset. Simple. So
those who are just listening to us, you won't be able to see this, but those who are watching us on YouTube, Mark started this thing. He goes, the first thing, and I saw his hand go here, and then I saw his second hand go here. I'm like, how the heck is he going to fit the last one in there? His hand's going to be out of the screen. So you're going to start. Let me try this. If I can go, you're going to start. You're going to stop, and then you're going to continue doing. Look at, I fit it into the screen.
Nice.
I don't know where my mind went. I was like, how's he going to, I'm like, I wish I could rewind. Like, how's he going to fit that?
It was more for me. It was more for me to keep my thought organized on that, man. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
God, I have problems.
It's all good. That's why we love you, man. That's amazing. Oh my God. Coach LaRock, love it. 2.0. That's it. Yeah. That's what we're doing. We're 2.0. And remember, this is the end. We're going to leave you with this thought: is you can look at your version of yourself, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and depending on how old you are, Are you, and like our coach who's in his 70s, he's probably
Awesome.
on 50 some point oh.
Awesome.
Continue to grow and get after it. Like, just crush life, man. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for this episode of Benchmarked. Thanks for listening. Until next time,
keep crushing it.